Welcome everyone to another episode of Monday Night Muscle. I'm the solo host today, but we got a superstar on the rise joining us via Zoom all the way from Tampa, Florida. Please welcome your first Olympia Classic Physique runner-up, Terrence Ruffin, to the show. Terrence, welcome to Monday Night Muscle.
Hey, thank you for having me, Sean.
Yeah, man. We were just talking off camera a little bit about where you came from and how you got here, because it seemed like I blinked and I was like, who's this guy? I was at the Olympia when you took second place to, what's the guy's name? Chris Bumstead. I know you remember him well.
Like that, yeah.
But a lot of people were eyeballing Breon because Breon had won this show twice. You know, he'd been second and they thought Breon was going to be the man, and boom, you slid right in between those two to kind of upset the apple cart and make people really think like it was apples and oranges, right? You don't think it was close between you and Chris. It was either Chris or you, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Go ahead, talk. We want to hear from you.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty real with myself. I know I have a lot to do to actually push Chris. I mean, looking at the scorecards, Chris, every judge had Chris winning. It was mostly between me and Breon, and it was a 1 point difference. So, you know, yeah, definitely. I still got work to do before I can push Chris a little bit harder.
Well, let's talk about how you actually got there, because I wasn't paying attention. You just kind of snuck in there. What was the show that qualified you for last year's Olympia in 2020?
2019 Niagara Falls Classic.
Well, there you go. I would have had to wait almost 2 years. I hadn't seen you on the landscape. So you qualify at the 2019 Niagara Falls, put on by Mindy O'Brien and Bob Ciccarillo. And then you decide, what? Oh, that didn't qualify you for that calendar year, did it? Because it was in November.
It did, yeah. It did. So, like, you know, Tampa Pro was the last qualifier for 2019 Olympia. So,
right.
This one qualified me for the 2020.
So, why'd you take so long off? Why did you take so long off from Niagara to 2020?
I did the Honor Classic too. I got second there.
So you see what I'm doing, Terrence? I'm extrapolating information. So you were in, you qualified for the Olympia in 2019. In 2020, you went to Columbus, Ohio, and you competed there, and you got second place to whom?
Alex Cabanero, yeah.
And what did you feel about that?
I was a little disappointed. That show meant a lot to me going into it. You know, going into that show, going a little bit further back. In 2018, you know, I placed ninth at the Olympia. That was after placing sixth the year before. So, you know, me and my coach at the time, we said, you know, we need to change something. For me, I have a harder time putting on muscle, so I need a little bit longer of a break to put on the tissue I need. So, you know, the plan was to take 2019 off and just go straight into like the Arnold or the New York Pro.
Right.
And during that time, he passed away, and I kind of fell off quite a bit. In order for me to get back on track, you know, I reached out to John Meadows and I said, I need to kind of compete. I need to kind of see how we work together. So let's do Niagara Falls.
Well, let's not gloss. Hold on. Let's pump our brakes. Let's not gloss over, because that's a big issue. Your trainer passed away. Okay. Your trainer passed away while you were building the framework of what it was you were trying to do, and so. How traumatic was that? Because he's your trainer, like you saw him on a regular basis.
Yeah, Matt Porter. A lot of people knew him. He passed away about, you know, last year during the summer, and you know, yeah, it was really difficult. At the same time, the day before he passed away, I was supposed to, actually the day after he passed away, I was supposed to move out of the house, me and my wife, or ex-wife. So it was a lot going on then. You know, I was dealing with divorce. I was dealing with him passing. You know, it was a really difficult time. I was, you know, really wasn't doing too well. You know, I remember I moved out and the only thing I had asked, you know, this girl I was dating at the time, she was, you know, helped me quite a bit. You know, I had just enough money to get an apartment, really crappy one. And I had a bed and I had a chair. And she gave me enough money for food that month to pay. And so I just kind of fell off, you know. My diet wasn't on point. My training, I still train quite frequently, but my food wasn't on point. My supplements weren't on point. And
Did the training and working out, did it offer you a place of stability and normalcy, or were you just kind of wallowing in a little bit of self-pity that your friend had passed away, your trainer, your mentor? Like, how do you get yourself back and right the sails?
It was out of necessity. I'm like, well, if I don't, my main job is a bodybuilder. If I don't bodybuild, I'm going to be homeless. So, wow. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people, just like any other job, you have to, do things you don't really want to do at the time, just in order to survive. Mm-hmm. So, so that was kind of the main reason why that was like, on point, and, Where did you go from there? Where
did you go from there? So you come out of the funk of losing your trainer, and somewhere along the way you must have got your groove back, and you looked for another trainer.
Yeah. I just knew that I wanted to still try to get, finish a plan that me and Matt had put in place. Okay. And I had known John Meadows for a long time. I respected him a lot. A lot of pros have respected him even before he got his pro card. He was well respected in the industry. So, I reached out to him. I told him my situation, and I'm really blessed that John's an awesome person, and he took me on, for free at the time. So until I got back on my feet.
So take me through the process, because I never worked with like a trainer or a coach. Mm-hmm. I had a guy that threw me under the weights, and I was a punching bag, basically. I was the guy that was there to change his weights, and I was the guy that he was there to like make me quit on the workout and get pleasure out of watching me throw up and then run me out of the gym and embarrass me. That was my coach, so to speak. I was a teenager. But you're looking at guys you're looking for help and experience. And what did you do when you met John Meadows? Did you say, okay, kid, audition for me. Let me see what you look like. Take your clothes off and strike the mandatory poses, and let's see what we're working with? Or did you just like break out your cell phone and show him pictures of yourself? What was the dynamic?
John, I've known John since I got my pro card. I turned pro at 21 in 2014.
Okay.
So I had known him for 3 years already. I was always a big fan. I bought all his stuff. I went to all the seminars he had. So he knew who I was, and I think he appreciated that that I, was an avid learner. Like, I just wasn't this guy that popped up out of nowhere. Okay. I was this guy that had been continually like supporting him any way I could before I worked with him. So, that's kind of the story there. So honestly, he didn't even look at me like, I remember, because even before then, like I said, I turned pro at 21. I wasn't a huge name, but I had been doing pretty well. I won a show every year. Never placed outside the top 3 in pro shows. Never placed out of top 10 at the Olympia.
Did you start off as a classic physique, or did you start off as a bodybuilder? Because
I turned pro in bodybuilding.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Where was that? Yeah. Where was that event? 2014. What show?
NPC Nationals.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So you turned as a pro. Now you got to make a decision. Classic physique was just getting started, right? So that's where you went the first time, or?
It wasn't around when I turned pro. Classic didn't come around until 2 years later in 2016.
Okay.
When I turned pro, I was like, well, I was small. I was like, I got to put on a lot of size to try to get to this 212 class, and obviously that didn't happen.
Let's give some perspective on your height and weight. How tall are you?
I am 5'5", and I usually compete at about 177 to 180 right now.
That's perspective, because you do know our reigning and defending 212 champion is about 5'3", and luckily maybe 177 pounds. Mm-hmm. You chose to go a different route, and it looks a little bit different. You wear it a lot different than Sean Clarita does.
Yeah.
You made the right choice with Classic? That's the sweet spot for you?
I think so. I mean, if you just look at it, like my training, my nutrition hasn't changed from me being a bodybuilder to switching to Classic.
Right.
Like I said, it just takes me a lot longer to put on muscle. Like this is the first year I've actually had to even have my weight cap in mind in Classic. So, Yeah, it's kind of funny you say that. I was just training with Sean the other day. We both were with John Meadows.
Yeah.
So
you wear it.
Yeah.
You guys wear it totally different. I mean, you have a genuine classic physique, and arguably one of the best physiques on the planet. And of course, having the opportunity to take out a 2-time champion in the form of Breon, you're now looking at this 6'1", 229 type of bodybuilder in Chris Bumstead, who absolutely looks every bit the champion. How are you going to beat this guy? What are you going to do?
It's funny. People ask me that all the time. They're like, what am I going to do differently? And I mean, like, it doesn't matter who's the champion, whether it's Breon or Chris. My weaknesses are my weaknesses. I still have to bring those up regardless of who's there. I think I can use a little bit more of my hamstrings, my biceps, my upper body. I feel pretty confident. People like to talk about, well, he's too short to beat this guy. I've beaten every other tall person, including Chris, at least once.
I like the confidence. I like the confidence because, again, big things come in small packages, and people have a tendency to forget guys like Muhammad Benaziza, Muhammad Makawi, Lee Labrada, who beat everybody on the stage, and they were all under 5'5", 5'6", including Franco Colombo, who's got 2 Mr. Olympia titles. But we're in a different division. You're bringing some different type of swagger to the stage because they're not looking at you to beat the giants. Although Chris represents a giant in this division, again, you and Breon maybe 1 point. You and Chris, it's either him or it's you, right? Do you think that what are you going to do to get the attention of the judges? Because if Chris presents the same thing and you present the same thing, we could have the same results. So what are you going to do differently to stand out?
I think I still have room to improve. That's the difference between me and Breon. Breon is pretty maxed out with his weight limit. There's some minor things he can do to his physique to improve. I understand that. And he's shown that over the years that he can develop, his physique while still being limited to his weight cap. But, I still have plenty of room to play with. And I think with that extra added size, I can really bring my physique to another level.
How much more weight can you put on your frame for your height in your division?
So I got on stage at 177, but I weighed in at 173, and my weight cap is 180.
Okay, so you got
Yeah.
Is size what you need in order to take that championship? Because you look big.
I think size in the right, the size in the right areas, I think can definitely help me. Besides that, I think my posing's good. My conditioning is always on point. I've talked to the judges. They don't give me a ton of feedback. I've asked them this year, and they basically just said, come in like I did at the night show. They said I was a little bit crisper. And they also said that's what kind of, the reason why I beat Breon was because of the night show. I was a little bit tighter, and he was a little bit softer at that night show. So.
All right, well, hold on to that thought, Terrence. We're going to take a commercial break. We're going to come back and find out exactly the advice that I'm going to give you to win that title this October 7th in Florida. All right, we're back here at Monday Night Muscle with your first Olympia runner-up in the classic physique, Terrence Ruffin, who stands a whopping 5'5" and 177 pounds. I like to say that because you're shorter than me and lighter. Terrence, so I was going to give you some free advice, but before I do that, I want to compare and contrast a little bit. You lost your trainer on the journey. Kind of reminds me of when Mike Tyson lost Cus D'Amato before he actually went on to win that championship in his memory. Matt Porter passed away. What is the differences between your trainer and Matt? Is there significant changes in how these guys are approaching your physique?
They're similar, but there are some differences. I would say John's he's a lot more, he seems a lot simpler. When I did my first show with him, he's like, I'm expecting a crazy, amount of changes, the last week before the show. And no, he's continue the same foods you're doing, keep, drink a little bit extra water, and I like that. I like simplicity. It makes it's just less stressful. So I would say that's probably the biggest difference. John is very simplistic. If you look good, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, well, it seems like you made the right decision in picking classic physique. And I'm going to give you a little bit of good news for this year's competition. The prize money has been increased. It's going up.
Okay.
It's going up. There's going to be more incentive for you to dig a little bit deeper and go after that #1 championship. But with opportunity comes responsibility. Chris Bumstead is on the record as saying he wants to be a minimum five-time classic physique champion, which you find humorous, which I love, because what? You don't think that's possible?
I think it's possible, but I bet Breon had the same expectations to win 5. I bet everyone does, I would like, personally, I love Chris, but, I would like to be the guy that kind of ends his reign, just like I was the guy that got him into, the first guy to beat him in the sport. Well,
I mean, again, you're not going to out-muscle the guy because he's just way, way bigger than you are, correct? So how do you beat him?
I beat him just on, proportions and just completeness of my physique. I think I have a very unique physique, and just the same way I beat him before. He's always been bigger than me. I beat him back in 2016 at the Diana Cadu Classic, and he didn't gain too much size. I think if we had to compare physiques, my physique has improved a lot more than his has in that time frame. So
shots fired.
I mean, I'm not saying he hasn't improved.
That's what it sounded like. That's what it sounded like.
I just think, I've had to make a lot more progress, but like I said, I think it's definitely possible. It just takes time, and I know what I need to do.
What about posing? Okay, we line you two up. Who's the better poser?
I think me and Chris both agree I'm the better. He's been on record as saying I'm a better poser.
Okay.
I would say, we got a lot of respect for each other. One thing I will say is I'm always impressed with how much he improves in every aspect of bodybuilding. He keeps me on his toes. Like I've never seen someone improve their back as much in a single year. So everything I do, I pay attention. I pay attention to everybody. And I know that if I'm not on my money, if I'm not doing everything perfectly, someone can easily come up behind me and beat me.
Yeah, we've seen that actually happen. As a matter of fact, we watched you do that with respect to Breon Ansley. He knows all too familiar. But Chris did the right thing. He attacked his weakness. We were criticizing the back. The back came up really good, and he closed the door on everybody. You had mentioned that you would like to have a little bit more improvement on your hamstrings.
And arms, yeah.
And your arms in order to try to complete the package. How old are you today, Terrence? What's your age?
I'm 27.
Yeah, you're still like a baby. You got plenty of time, but Chris is right there with you. Is there any reason why you're not going to hit the stage before the Olympia this year?
So I'm in the Arnold, so that's 2 weeks before.
September 25th, yes.
Yeah. So that's the only show I have in mind right now. Then I'll be competing. I'll be doing 4 shows this year. So the Arnold, the Olympia, Hurricane Pro, and Texas Cup. So I got 4 planned this year. Okay,
so you're able to run the table and peak and repeak, and you're not afraid of the mystique and the shine of being the first runner-up getting taken away from you? You're not afraid of these cats?
I mean, it's a little nerve-wracking, but I like to think of it like, if I'm good, then I'm good. Like Ronnie Coleman was Mr. Olympia, but he also, up until DEXTER, was the most winningest bodybuilder.
Right.
On stage. So, if I'm like, if you show up at 100%, you show up at 100. Like, I like to compete. I think I like how you guys used to do back in the day, where you do the Olympia, then you guys would do the Grand Prix right after, back to back to back. That really appeals to me. And I just want to kind of, even though they don't have that for Classic, they don't really have many Grand Prix anymore, I'm doing my best to kind of relive that in my own mind. Yeah, well, I never did what you just said. I watched Flex, Chris Cormier, Vince Taylor. They competed a lot. I didn't. However, you might want to save the date for November the 20th, because we have our very first Classic Pro Physique Championships at my show in Hawaii, which kind of rounds out the year. November the 20th. We'd love to have you out there for that next week. Yeah, buddy. It's going to come up. It's a month after, 3 weeks after the Olympia. It's a week after the show, the Texas show. The Texas show is November 13th. So put it on the calendar. Let's serve notice to these guys. Okay. Who did you follow in the footsteps when you decided you wanted to bodybuild? What were you paying attention to? The first bodybuilder I ever saw was Dexter Jackson. Mm-hmm. So my first, view of the sport was through him. He was on the I went to the store, picked up a magazine. He was on the cover. Yeah. Besides that, you know, after him, I got into, you know, like you said, looking at a lot of bodybuilders around my height because that's what motivated me. So, you know, like you, Franco Colombo, Lee Labrada were all big, you know, inspirations. And it really gave me a lot of confidence, you know, because, you know, before that, the first one, you know, besides Dexter, I would see Arnold, I would see all these tall guys, and it was kind of disheartening a little bit. But then once I got to know the history, I'm like, oh, height doesn't matter all that much.
Yeah, well, let's put it in perspective. What got you into bodybuilding? You're 5 foot nothing.
I started out in the military. I was trying out for special forces, and fortunately, that didn't work out. You know, I made it about like, oh man, it's been a minute now. Like I think 3 or 4 months in, and then you know I failed, and so I started in the gym because I was like, well, I'm going to try again.
Wait, Terrence, hold on. You said you're 3 or 4 months in the military.
Into special forces training, yeah.
How do you fail? What is there to fail? Is it like is it the physical conditioning part that you failed? What do you fail?
That was difficult, but I filled out, and this is where like 90% of the people wash out at. You go. It's called FTX, field exercise training, and then our field training exercises. So when you go into the woods for a week, and basically you navigate, you spend the night in dirt holes, you dig, and you have to be so proficient in it, you know. So like basically you can't lose certain items like your map, your ID card, your rucksack, your weapon. You have to be able to navigate from one point to another in a specific amount of time. There's a lot of different things that goes into it.
So what part did you fail? I mean, what part is there to fail?
So I went through this twice. So the first time I lost like in one of those important items. I was navigating at night, and I fell down a hill, and my GPS ripped off. So everything I have is tied down to like a rucksack, and it just snapped, and I couldn't find it. So that was the first time, and then the second time I got to go back, it was just an accumulation. So like we got to the woods, and the instructor said we were too loud, so we got one mark against us there. Then I had a little bit of trouble getting to one of my points, so that was the second mark. And then you
have to get there in a time period.
Yeah. So that was another issue. And then the final thing was they give you one more chance to do like a navigation you failed. So I ended up passing it. And then normally you go back to your base camp. Okay. You reset, you clean everything off, you pack everything back up. But since I failed, I went straight from one to the next, and I forgot to clean my map. And
what do they do? They send you home?
Got me.
They send you home?
Yeah.
You're out of the military.
No. No. So if you fail special forces training within the first 2 weeks, you get kicked out. Wow. But I made it far enough. They gave me a different job. Okay. I ended up doing electronic warfare. So I worked on jamming systems that attach to aircraft.
And that was a blessing in disguise for you, or?
Yeah. Because I couldn't have bodybuilt being in special forces whatsoever. Yeah, I would have. Yeah.
So how long were you in? How long were you in then? How long do you?
I was in for 6 years. I got out in 2017, like a couple weeks before the Olympia. So August. I got out mid-August, and the Olympia is September. So yeah.
And we got mad respect for the military men and women. You know, my show in Hawaii is full of just military people from all over the world. Yeah. Because that's what the hub is over in Hawaii. They come up from Guam and Japan and all over. And we know how hard it is for you guys to do it, and appreciate your service as well. Do you know any military people that made it big? I know Cedric McMillan is the name that comes to my mind.
Cedric, David Henry. David Henry. He was also in the Air Force.
Yes, out of Tucson, Arizona, he was out here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. He was the main one I remember, just especially because we were in the same branch.
Let me tell you a story. David Henry was the very first guy to win the 202-pound division at the New York Pro in 2007. You know who the promoter was?
Okay.
I joined up with Steve Weinberger, and we created he allowed me to put that event on. And of course, David Henry also went on to win the very first 202-pound Olympia title, which then turned into the 212 some years later after Kevin English won it like 3 or 4 times. Yep. And then, of course, Flex Lewis won it for 7, and then the whole landscape has changed. How do you view the Mr. Olympia weekend? I mean, you're in the Olympia, for Christ's sakes. And do you get to enjoy the other things going on during that time?
Not so much anymore. My first year, though, since I was a nobody, they have like the Meet the Olympians. No one knew me, so I just left my little table and I walked around and got it. That was my first time at the Olympia too.
That was your fan day.
Everybody, yeah. So that was the most fun I had. But,
nice.
Most of the time it's a lot of work, but I like it because I like meeting my fans. So I'm like, I'll stay there and like this past Olympia, me and Logan Franklin were like Logan Franklin and Dexter Jackson were the last 3 guys at the Meet the Olympians. Everyone else had gone. So I try to meet every fan I can. After I won my titles, I walked out from the Olympia and I talked to everyone. The hardest part is my family's there. And I don't really get to see my family at all,
Well, you're at work, bro. I mean, listen, it's the Olympia. I mean, it's not family day, right? I mean, you go play the Super Bowl, you're fighting the heavyweight championship, the family gets to wait until you're done. But what does the family, I want to find out what role the family does play in your bodybuilding, because for every person, it's different. Some families support it, some know nothing about it. But I want to find out what your take is right after this commercial break.
You diet down, train hard, and supplement smart for months. When the time comes to step on stage, don't leave your tan to chance. Go with the pros. Pro Tan. #1 worldwide since 1987 and the official sponsor of the Olympia for the last 15 years. Don't step on stage without it. Pro Tan.
All right, we are talking to Terrence Ruffin, your #2 classic physique guy on the planet Earth, going into the Olympia coming up this October 7th to the 10th, right there in Orlando, Florida. And Terrence, you're on the cusp of greatness. If you're the man that can beat the man, you will be the man. And that could change that could change your whole economy of lifestyle. But we were talking about the network of family. Not all families get behind what's going on. I mean, here you are, you're 5'5", 170 some odd pounds, and you're shaving your legs and you're posing in the mirror and you're staring at half naked men. What's the family's role in all of this? What does mom or dad or brother or sister think of this, what you're doing?
So I have a half brother, but I grew up an only child with just my mom. And now she's always been my biggest supporter. She's only missed, I think, 2 shows I've done, nice. Just because, she's a teacher, so she can only take so many days off. But she was the one I remember when I first came home from the military to see her, and I told her this is what I want to do. And I don't think she really understood it, but she took my first progress photos ever. So she's always been a supporter, and it's amazing. Like, she doesn't know a ton, she doesn't keep up with it whatsoever, but anytime I'm in a show, she knows about it.
And where's dad in all this?
So honestly, like with my father, I've had great father figures in my life. I've been really fortunate there. My mom remarried; she married an awesome guy. So it is what it is. Like, but no, I don't really focus on him or the negative. I'm just appreciative for the things I do have.
Yeah, well, you're healthy. How is the body holding up? Have you suffered any setbacks, any injuries?
Actually, no. Yeah, everything's been pretty good. I get my blood work done pretty regularly. That's another thing I really appreciate about John. He's really about health. Mm-hmm. I've had, I talked about it on my YouTube. I had surgery, gyno surgery.
Very common.
It wasn't bad. Mm-hmm. Even the judges said they did notice it, but I got it because it bothered me. Yeah. And and I think mentally it just helps me to know that like everything's perfect with my physique as an artist.
That's a very important component because it's a visual sport. Mm-hmm. And your posing reflects that you take pride in the way you present your body. Where did that come from?
Mm-hmm. I've always been an artist. I used to sell I used to sell little drawings back when I was in kindergarten for 10 cents, and then I sold actual paintings in high school for a couple $100, here and there. Mm-hmm. And I almost went to art school, but I got talked out of it. And so this posing and bodybuilding is a way for me to kind of tap back into that artist mindset of mine.
And we also know, as a professional athlete, the window's small. You're 27 years old. Let's fast forward 10 years. You're 37 now. You're not going to be in the same headspace. We don't know where you're going to be physically, but what's the end game? Mm-hmm. What would you like to do going forward with the remaining time you have on the planet?
I love it. I think about this quite a bit. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how long I'll be competing for, but I would really love to do something different in bodybuilding. My whole goal is to to show outsiders how, you know, beautiful it can be. You know, I had a lot of plans before COVID hit. You know, I had planned to do some art shows posing there under like, they have a section for performance art. So I had planned on doing that. But I, you know, obviously got a little bit set back. So I found other ways. I've partnered with different, you know, videographers to create some pretty cool stuff. And luckily, I've met some cool people. Dave Batista, he sees value in what I want to do, and he's hooking me up with one of the biggest LED screens in the country. So I'm going to be doing some cool content posing wise there, and then also you guys gonna be the first to hear it. I might as well talk about it. I'm going to be helping Freddie Nadeau promote a show, and in exchange, I'm going to get access to the stage, and I'm going to be flying out about 10 to 15 of the best posers around the world to come together and put together some cool posing content. So,
what's the first guy's name?
Freddie. He's a promoter out in Texas.
Freddie, what's Freddie's last name?
Nadeau. I think
he has a show that he's putting on, correct? A new show? He puts
on 2 shows, Battle Up, one in December and one in August.
Right, and I think the August one is a pro show, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, that's the one, I think August 7th, I believe. And so you're going to be able to bring out certain athletes to put on a posing clinic, guest posing type thing?
So you have to when you get a chance, you have to see some of the videos I've done. It's kind of hard to explain with words. You have to see. They're almost like music videos, or in a sense,
where
like
are they at?
What I've been doing.
Where are these videos?
I have them on YouTube and also under the IGTV on Instagram.
Okay, you do realize you have to tell us where on YouTube. Yeah. What's the channel? Oh,
Rough Diesel. Under posing routines, you'll find them. Yeah.
Rough Diesel. Okay. What's the IG?
Rough Diesel.
The IG is also Rough Diesel.
Yeah, everything's under Rough Diesel. Website, YouTube, Instagram. Yeah.
Okay, and so you're putting up some really cool, crazy, innovative performances to bring back the art of posing. Yeah. Are you doing that intentionally because what? Is it a lost art?
Not so. I'm doing it more because I have a vision of what I want to create, and you know, it's just something I'm doing. I guess I'm doing it somewhat for myself, and somewhat I think it would be very helpful for bodybuilding. You know, in a sense, you know, even talking to outsiders, you know, like Dave, you know, one of the most popular actors in the world, he thinks that, and he agrees with me that posing is how you really entertain like normal people, like people that aren't really super concerned with the mandatories of bodybuilding. And I've even seen where I've had numerous amounts of people come up to me and tell me or message me and say, I'm not really into bodybuilding, but the posing you do is very, very interesting. Dancers, normal people all the time. So I think that in the long run, this is how we also bring more money into the sport.
Is this a conversation that you would have with your colleagues? I mean, are you friendly with these guys you're trying to beat on the stage? Do you guys communicate? Do you DM each other? What do you do?
Some people, I'm friendly with everybody. I don't talk to a lot of people too much, but the people I'm reaching out to come do this event, we're pretty cool. Like also Sergio is another guy I would love to bring out. I think he's probably the best open poser in the open bodybuilding class today. Obviously, he won the best poser world at the Arnold as well, so that's kind of like verification of that. So,
yeah. Working with these athletes, I think in order to get something organized, you have to deal with them. You have to communicate with them, right, on some level. And I think part of the big roadblock and problems that we've had in the past is the disconnect, that there isn't enough. There's not like a union, like the athletes don't communicate enough together to coordinate something into existence. What you're coordinating in Texas and putting together needs to happen in New York, in California, and in Florida on a more regular basis, so you guys can get some leverage and obviously elevate the performance side. Batista is absolutely right.
Yeah.
That's a lost art. People pay big money to watch you guys do it.
On a side note, since I have you here, I would like to say that I don't know everything that you've done, but the one thing I really appreciate is what you try to do for the athletes when you competed. You know, trying to raise the prize money, trying to do all these things. I know it was difficult, and I know you had a lot of pushback. No, I love Ronnie Coleman, but I remember that one saying that he said that I didn't complain, and people love it. But in the context, you know, with actual context of why he said it, it really hurt bodybuilding in a sense, man. You know,
absolutely.
And it's really. Yeah, so I just want to thank you for, trying to make bodybuilding better.
Well, I appreciate you, Terrence, and we're going to follow your journey right up into and through the Olympia. The classic physique division is one to watch. It's got a lot of, there's a lot of implications there if you should make history by knocking off this juggernaut in the form of Chris Bumstead, because he's the real deal. And of course, Breon Anzi is not letting go anytime soon.
Yeah.
And again, Logan Franklin on his way up, and you got, it's a very competitive division. I'm really happy to see that you're paying attention to the lost art of posing and performance, which is what we all want to see. And at 5'5", you're doing it better than the rest, man. So good luck. We'll see you in Orlando, October the 7th to the 10th.
Thank you.
All right, that's going to do it for another episode of Monday Night Muscle. Thank our special guest, Terrence Ruffin from Classic Physique, going for the victory in Orlando, Florida. Follow us here. We'll be right back next Monday with some more Monday Night Muscle. I'm Sean Ray.